Hey everybody, this is Longhorn Confidential for October 8th, 2024. I'm Danny Davis, the Austin American-Statesman. I'm joined by Thomas Jones, David Eckert, and it's Red River Rivalry week. Gotta say that slowly so you don't get your tongue too twisted. But for the 120th time, Texas and Oklahoma will meet in Dallas. Not all 120 have been in Dallas, but since 1929, every year, State Fair. Y'all know the deal. This year, Texas is number one in both the AP and the coaches poll, 5-0, 1-0 in SEC play. Oklahoma ranked number 16th by the coaches. They're 4-1, 1-1. If you're into this sort of thing, there's kind of a line on this game that's a little eye-popping. 14 and a half to open the week. I saw 15 and a half. Texas favored by just a couple of minutes ago. We tried to bait the players a little bit, us in the media, by asking them, "Hey, what do you think of this line?" Steve Sarkisian, what do you think of this line? Everyone kind of, threw their hands up. David Benda acted like he didn't know what a betting line even was on Monday. I'm not sure if I completely believe that, but David, we'll start with you. That 14 and a half point line, is that too much? Is that too little, or is it just right?
It's a lot. It just feels like a lot for a rivalry game, and it's like the old cliche where they just tend to be close. So I mean, just looking at it feels like a lot of points. But, factor in the performances, Texas has been significantly better than Oklahoma, who is on their second choice quarterback trying to figure it out. So I understand it. I might not have it that high, but I get it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
TJ, your thoughts?
I think it's too low. And we've
Wow.
all seen in this rivalry when one of the team is a national championship contender, like Texas is this year, and the other one's just trying to kind of keep their toehold in the polls, like OU is this year. We've seen some blowouts from both sides. We Texas fans have seen OU just really take the Longhorns to the woodshed in the past, and it's happened vice versa. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a blowout. Um, and the way both teams are playing, I think Texas probably should be favored by more. I don't know if that'll encourage David Benda to, make a decision on what he's going to do with his money, but we'll see.
Look, it's too many points. This is a rivalry game. You are correct in the past. There have been some blowouts in this series, but that hasn't been the case for the last 10 years. Nine of the last 10 games in this series, excluding the Big 12 championship game, have been decided by 8 points or less. And there have been some good Texas teams in the last decade, and there have been some good Oklahoma teams in the last decade, and some bad Texas teams and some bad Oklahoma teams. The one exception was that 49-0 game a couple years ago, and Michael Hawkins is not whoever Oklahoma was trotting out at quarterback 2 years ago. That's just the fact of the matter. Nothing to take away from that 49-0 win, but Oklahoma might as well have had me back there. This game is always close. And I think if you're going to bet this money, you kind of need to be aware of what happened with college football the last couple weeks. I mean, Texas was favored by how many points in that Mississippi State game? If you took Texas in the points, which was a reasonable suggestion, you lost money 2 weeks ago just because Mississippi State's a SEC football team. This past weekend, what happened this past weekend? Vanderbilt beats Alabama. Michigan loses to Washington. Missouri lost A&M, which was a ranked team. That's still a top 10 team with a team that's just hanging on in the polls. And there's one other
Arkansas.
Tennessee and Arkansas, which I know you called on this podcast last week, but not a lot of people called it across the country. So I mean, Oklahoma, Texas should win this game, but Oklahoma is still a ranked SEC team. And this is a rivalry game that's always close. I think 14 and a half points. If you are willing to make that bet, God bless you, but that's not going to be me and how I choose to spend my money. I could be very much wrong, but I'd at least be wrong and not poor and not sweating it out on Saturday. So that's seemingly how it is to me.
It's interesting, Danny, that you bring up Mississippi State because I think which way this goes on the line might be what Mississippi State did was they came in here as a team that has a reputation of playing fast, and they didn't play fast. They sat on the ball. And Oklahoma's kind of the same thing, right? I mean, they're one of the fastest teams offensively in college football. I'm looking at it right now. They run 78 plays a game. So Are they going to try to play fast and provide more possessions for that lead to grow, or are they going to try to do something similar and try to take the air out of the ball?
Good point.
Yeah, I mean, you can argue the way that Oklahoma was able to beat Texas last year, especially in that that fourth quarter was playing fast and obviously being able to move the football and getting 34 points. But that'll be definitely something to watch out for. And I know you're writing about adjustments and all that stuff. So we'll see if Steve and they need to make any adjustments this weekend. But this panel we have today, unfortunately, Seth is not with us. Today, getting ready for his On Second Thought podcast, which is actually going to feature some Oklahoma writers, and Kirk Bohls is making his return on Thursday to the On Second Thought podcast. But
Can't quit them.
this panel kind of represents three different viewpoints of the Red River Rivalry. David, this is going to be your first.
Mhm. Yeah.
You have some history. I mean, you went to Penn State, so I'm sure there's some rivalries that the Nittany Lions dealt with, and obviously you got to see a couple Egg Bowls in your time in Mississippi. Thomas, you're a Texan, so you kind of grown up around this OU Texas rivalry. I've been in the state for 17 years, and I think this is probably going to be my 10th Red River rivalry, so I kind of know the deal with the game, so I know what the deal is. But TJ, we'll start with you since you know a lot about it. Is the Red River rivalry the best rivalry in college football? At Statesman.com earlier this week, we ranked the SEC rivalries, and we actually had it number 2 behind the Iron Bowl, Alabama and Auburn. But for your money, is this the best rivalry in college football?
As far as the splendor and the spectacle of it, I think so, because of the setting of the state fair, because the crowd split, 50% burnt orange, 50% crimson and cream. I think the only thing that jumps to my mind that's comparable is the old Georgia Florida rivalry that meets neutrally in Jacksonville each year. And Texas and OU has a bigger national impact than that rivalry does. So I'd say yes. I mean, I think Michigan, Ohio State fans would probably say, "Hey, what about us?" I take their point, but the fact that this is at the state fair in the beautiful Cotton Bowl, halfway between the schools every year, makes it unique and makes it second to none, in my opinion.
David, do you want to get into some trouble, anger some?
Yeah, I guess what I would say is when I'm talking about rivalries, like spectacle is cool. I want toxicity from my rivalries. I just want like visceral hatred. And I'm sure, again, I've never experienced this, but I have a hard time like seeing anything overcome like the Iron Bowl when it comes to that. So I'm open to having my mind changed, but I would not say that it is the top rivalry in college sports. But I'm going into it with an open mind because I've never seen it yet. So we'll see if I still have that opinion next week.
I think the atmosphere it's a one of the kind of thing. I think that's cool. I prefer my rivalries to be on campus, but if you're gonna have a neutral site thing, do it like they do with Texas OU. I think it's good that there are often things at stake in this game, and these are often nationally ranked teams, and the winner is on an inside track for conference championship or keeps in contention for a national championship run, which has certainly been the case over the last 10 20 years in this rivalry. But I think there's some things working against this rivalry when you put in a national standpoint. To me, in-state rivalries matter, and this is not an in-state rivalry. Like, I think it matters that state bragging rights, house divided, all that stuff, that matters to me, and I think that kind of eliminates Ohio State, Michigan to me. I hate the name of this rivalry. Whatever Texas wants to call it this week, rivalry, shootout, showdown, whatever sponsor wants to call it this week. I think it's kind of there are better rivalry names. And also, I don't like rivalries in October. I think teams grow up and play this game in November over Thanksgiving weekend. So the losing fans have to go sulk to whatever their favorite bar is and hear a bunch of smack talk from their families and friends and whoever's home for the Thanksgiving weekend. In October, everyone's just going back to work on Monday, and there's not as much fallout for the fans if they lose this game, which is not the case for some of those rivalry games that get played either the weekend before Thanksgiving or the weekend after Thanksgiving in November. I would argue that if Texas A&M and Texas had gotten their stuff together, I would be arguing that's a better rivalry than Texas Oklahoma. But since they haven't played in 11, 12 years, I think you'd have to say Oklahoma, Texas is the rivalry. But at the end of the day, I think rivalries are what you make of it. I think all of us probably have, depending on where you went to school, depending on where you're from, probably have different opinions. You're going to be, you would be unable to convince me that OU Texas is a better rivalry than Montana Montana State. Just for me, just because that's where I came from. That's what I grew up around. I'm sure if you're from Washington or Oregon or you're Steve Sarkisian and you played in the Holy Wars with Utah and BYU, like I think it is what you make of it. But sorry, OU Texas not the top rivalry. Give me Brawl of the Wild up in Montana Montana State, and you're not going to convince me otherwise. But speaking of atmosphere, as we mentioned, State Fair, this game's going to be 2:30 in the afternoon, which is a little bit different than years past. But on Saturday, you're going to be able to have a full day full of corny dogs. But TJ, as a fair veteran, what fried food are you looking forward to eating this weekend?
Well, I'm getting a corn dog with mustard right off the bat. And then something I've always wanted is a fried Pop Tart with the sprinkle topping. I don't know if they exist, but if they exist, it'll be at the state fair. So I'm gonna find one after the game. Fried Pop Tart.
David, you're going to be a newcomer, and Thomas may have to, show you around the fairground, show you how it's done. But I don't know if you've done some homework or some scouting report on what's going to be on the fairgrounds. But is there any fried food you're looking forward to eating this weekend? Because you're going to have to eat something on the fairgrounds, and luckily, you can just expense it to the company.
Yeah, there you go. It's free. So I'm not supposed to have any of that. Like, if you ask my doctor, I'm not supposed to eat gluten. I do play it a little fast and loose, so I will partake, you know. But I don't know. Like, I think the only ridiculous fried food I've ever had is like fried Oreos, and those are amazing. But I don't know if there's something like especially unique that I need to try here, but I'm open-minded. I'll find something.
Man, if this is company tab, I'm looking for a fried filet mignon, maybe. Have you got that, Danny?
Definitely is. It's got to work it into your per diem. But I'll be definitely getting a corny dog with ketchup, not mustard, which I know is
Oh, oh,
hot take among my loved ones. My wife may divorce me for saying that publicly, but I'll be definitely getting that. Get a nice cold beverage afterwards. I saw on the list of new fried foods this year. There's a Korean corn dog, which is kind of half mozzarella stick, half corn dog. So that kind of looks interesting. Maybe try that out. A lot of the new foods are all sweet this year, so I will find something for dessert on the fairgrounds, but I will be definitely kept busy after the game, although we may not be getting out of the press box until like 8 or 9 o'clock. So don't want to be eating too much and then falling asleep on the drive back to where we're all the places we're heading back to. But that's this weekend. Obviously, this is a fun time that everyone circles on their calendar every year, whether you're a Texas fan or an OU fan. Once again, 2:30 kickoff on Saturday at the State Fair. ABC will be televising if you're watching at home and making corny dogs in your own kitchen. But statesman.com throughout the week, we'll have plenty of coverage leading up to the game. Like I said, on Second Thought podcast with Kirk Bowles coming back for a guest appearance that drops on Thursday morning, and then obviously throughout the game and after the game, we'll have plenty of coverage over on Statesman.com. But that's going to do it for us. We really do hope you all enjoy the second best rivalry in college football this weekend. But we appreciate y'all watching us on YouTube or Statesman.com, listening to us wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see y'all down the road and enjoy that. Catch up on your corny dog. Deuces.